Allahu Akbar.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Do we have any students in the house? So if you're a student that participated in the encampment or the protest, please stand up. Stand up. We need to express our deepest gratitude, our thanks, our appreciation for the courage, for your creativity, for your persistence, for standing against overwhelming odds at a time where those in high places opted to be silent. You have actually made history. And history remembers those who spoke and spoke when it is actually the time to speak. We have many people that celebrated the release of Nelson Mandela after his release. But when he was in jail, many of those who were administrators, university presidents, chancellors, US politicians and European politicians were actually engaged in what is called constructive engagement. They would rather take students and civil society people to go and visit South Africa rather than to stand to end apartheid. History proven that the students then were on the right side of history, and those who were in the upper echelon office were on the wrong side of history as we are seeing it today. History will actually celebrate you in the future. They will make not monuments, but they will make days and celebrations at universities in the future because of what you have done today. Now, many ask, why Palestine? And it's a very valid and important question. Now, first, as a Palestinian, I always make sure to read up and be up to date on every Muslim cause. I need to know about Kashmir. I need to know about Sudan. I need to know about Somalia. I need to know about Yemen. I need to know about every place where Muslims are oppressed, because we are connected. Whoever does not have a concern of the affairs of Muslims is not from among them. But there is something specific to Palestine. One is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about Palestine, so it's the responsibility of our ummah. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam did his Isra and Mi'raj to Palestine, and you can't know your prayers without actually knowing that it was prescribed during the Isra and the Mi'raj. It directly appears at least in two chapters, whether it's chapter 17 or chapter 53. It's the land of prophets and revelations. But more importantly, for us here in the United States, it is actually connected to Columbus. What do you mean? What do you mean Palestine is connected to Columbus? I thought that Columbus went west. He did not come to Palestine. Well, it turned out that Columbus actually, in his journey out to the west, was seeking to launch a new crusade that will reach the Muslim world via China and India. Carol Delaney, in her book, Columbus and the Quest of Jerusalem, she says that Columbus was inspired to find a western route to the Orient, not only to obtain vast sums of gold for the Spanish crown, but primarily to fund a new crusade to take Jerusalem from the Muslims before the end of the world. a goal that sustained him until he died. Now we know that he wrote in his diary about this journey, that he felt that the Khan of China is sympathetic to Christianity, and that we will be able to form an alliance and launch a crusade to take back Jerusalem, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. In another diary or another statement, said that if we don't get Jerusalem, we might get Mecca and exchange it with the Muslims for Jerusalem. So in here, Columbus' journey across the Atlantic, the genocide of indigenous people, and then the opening the doors to the enslavement of upward of 30 million black brothers and sisters, between 15 to 25% of them were Muslims, is directly connected to the dream, to the hope, to the aspiration for a crusade by Columbus to Jerusalem. He said it could be undertaken in 3 years. So Columbus' journey to what came to be the New World, the opening to the gates to the enslavement of the black brothers and sisters, opened the doors for colonization, and end up having the colonization of India in 1601. So you need to understand these historical links. So when we say Palestine, understand that this is part and parcel of this thinking about reclaiming Jerusalem and Palestine. Now this gets me into Western thoughts and ideas. And hopefully they actually continue to have Western thoughts, ideas, because they're running out of them. Other than just bombing, it seems to be the only idea they have. The West believes that they have two major pillars for their thought and their civilization. One is the Rome and Athens, and the second is the land of the Bible, or the biblical tradition. And since the area that we call today Palestine, or all the areas that we call the Middle East, has moved away into Islam over almost 150 to 200 years, Western Christianity in particular feels that there's something missing in bringing a wholeness to who they are. So this irredentism, this feeling of loss that is central to this Western thought, in order for it to be made whole, there has to be a takeover of Jerusalem, and with it also the notion of Christian Zionism. It's interesting, the first to introduce the idea of bringing Jews back to Palestine was actually all Christian theologians. And today we say in America there are far more Christian Zionists than actually Jewish Zionists. For them, this is a millenarian idea of the return, the second return of Jesus, and with it, the possibility of both conversion of some Jews and the killing of the majority of Jews. That's their evangelical worldview. Now, I need to tell you, as Muslims, we don't account, we actually are taught to be the right hand of the devil. We don't even have a possibility of redemption. So that gets you also some of the ideas that governs this notion relative to Palestine. Now, with the opening door of the New World, enslavement, colonization, we get a reworking of the map of the world. Today, we are still living the 500 plus years of the rewiring of the world, where the Muslims were in the center of the world. Now we barely are on the periphery. That's why when we think of Palestine, it is not only a matter of Palestine and Palestinian, it's about a whole historical transformation that we need to be aware of. Now, if we're thinking about colonization, there are 7 overarching ways to think of the colonization of Palestine as it relates today. One, it's a Western colonial project, inside out. Second, It's a commercial, capitalist project simultaneously. It's a military-industrial complex project. That's why we're seeing the testing of bombs on the Palestinians. It is founded upon racism. That's why when we have almost 300,000 Palestinians dying as a result of the Israeli war machine, we don't think that they are a human. That we have our sister, the Dr. Ala Najjar, having her own kids coming burned, and no one actually say anything in the Western world, because we belong to the category of subhumanness. There is the human and subhuman. That has been the history of Western colonization, which continue to be active today. Genocide and multiple genocide, and with genocide also transfer. You don't need to go to Palestine to understand what's taking place. Just look at Native Americans. They were committed to genocide, and those who remained were sent to concentration camps that we call reservation. The same ideas that Ben Gvir, Smotrich, Netanyahu, and Trump are saying is the same ideas that have continuously been implemented in the Western Hemisphere. The use of Christianity, imperial Christianity, as an instrument, and then epistemological structures or ways of knowing. You cannot approach Palestine without taking account of these 7 elements in order to understand what is taking place. Now, I know I have a few minutes left, so I'm going to shift a little bit to give you a different ways or a different assessment of where we are. If you think that today Zionism and Israel are winning the day, you need to change your mind. Israel is no longer able to have its standing as a product anywhere in the world, including the Western world. I don't know. Now, I don't know what genius public relations firm thought that sending Ben Gvir to tour the United States is a good PR idea. I don't know. They must have lost their mind to think of Ben Gvir, that had almost 14 different cases in Israel itself, to be sent in here to argue Israel's case in the United States. That tells you that they began to believe their own propaganda, and anyone that believes their own propaganda is no longer able to make their own argument on its foundation. So you need to know that. Second, during the South Africa anti-apartheid movement period, the critical tipping point occurred when cultural producers began to embrace the anti-apartheid movement. I hope you're noticing that the cultural producers globally, again, even Bono from U2 just came out yesterday with a bland statement that tells you even Bono, who still was committed to investing in Israel, understand that the cultural transformation and tipping point has occurred. Today, the dominant flag and the dominant identification across the world is the Palestinian flag and the Palestinian cause. The concerts that took place just yesterday with NECAP, the concerts in California with the Coachella, the summer concerts in London this past summer, the dominant narrative and the dominant identification was with Palestine. We have arrived at the tipping point that the South African apartheid movement have arrived to, and it's only a matter of time that free Palestine will be a reality. Now, over the past few weeks, we have seen the commencement exercises. Anybody graduated? Mabruk, congratulations. In the commencements, Palestinian flag and the kufi was the dominant attire that many of the graduates have donned on. That tells you that despite the repression, despite the overwhelming force, despite the surveillance, Despite the gladiator police security that they brought to the campus, the students are saying Palestine is our identity for this time, and we are not be silenced or leave this cause as we exit the universities. Now, Nicholas Klein, a trade unionist activist in 1918, said, "First, they ignore you." And we've been through that, where they say Palestine does not matter and so on, and people were engaged in normalization. People, including Muslims, and I also developed the notion of what's called Muslim Zionism. Right? Muslims wanted to have interfaith, and in order to get interfaith, they had to travel to Israel in order to, what you call, kick it with some of the Israeli colonizers and settlers. Those days are over, just to understand what is taking place. So first they ignore you, then they ridicule you, and then they attack you and want to burn you, and then they build monuments to you. We are right now at the level of they attack you and want to burn you, but prepare yourself for the monuments that will be built for you, because you stand for a free Palestine. Now, I'll get you some homework. If you are not linked to a PDS movement, locally or nationally or transnationally, you need to engage with the PDS movement. Boycott, divestment, and sanction. You need to engage in the boycott, divestment, and sanction. Go back to your mosque, go back to your institutions, and find out if there is anything linked to anything that have to do with Israel and Zionism, and begin to actually have the PDS as part of your agenda and part of your engagement. Second, keep speaking. Keep speaking. The highest form of struggle in our tradition is a statement of truth in front of unjust ruler. What we have is a global unjust system that requires you to speak the truth. We have to be truth teller, whether here in the United States, whether in the UK, whether in France, or whether any other place, including in the Muslim world. There is no one that tells you a fatwa that silence or a protest is a sin. It's a sin to say protesting injustice and genocide is a sin, and that's what we need to challenge. Religion is very important, but religion is a force of transformation, and religion tells you that the highest form of struggle today and the highest form of adab, the highest form of tazkiyah, is to speak truth in the face of genocide. So don't allow anyone to tell you to be silent. Third, for the young people, keep up on the social media. Keep posting on social media. Keep free Palestine on social media. Keep the images of those who are being killed and maimed in Gaza on the social media. You have to constantly win that space of the social media, and don't allow anyone to silence you again on social media. Fourth, keep producing cultural material. If you're a poet, write more poetry. If you're a poet, write more poetry. If you're a person that produces documentaries, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or anything, make sure to produce documentaries. Those are the things that break through the silence, the walls of complete inconsideration or inconsequence for the Palestinians. If you're a filmmaker, make films. If you're a person that writes a theater piece, write a theater piece. But I want you to write, and break the walls of oppression that is standing on top of the Palestinians. If the New York Times says all the news that fit to print except genocide, we will write in the face of New York Times to transform the 8 pages of New York Times so genocide will be affirmed on its pages. It's us that will make change in history. Finally, I know that some of us are going to go through difficulties, and we should take some comfort while we're watching our brothers and sisters in Gaza facing the oppression. Difficulty is there. no one promised you that a struggle would not be with difficulty. But I will tell you that we do have resources to protect you and to also be with you. I know that I speak for MLFA, Muslim Legal Fund of America. I chair MLFA. Our lawyers are there to protect you and take the cases against the university, against Texas, against any state that will challenge your rights. I know CARE has 80 different lawyers that likewise they're ready to take your cases and defend you. I know that Palestine Legal will take your cases and defend you. Center for Constitutional Rights is taking your case and will defend you. So don't allow the fear of repression make us deviate from actually doing the work for free Palestine. Lastly, Palestine is a state of mind. Free Palestine is a state of mind. You go out and actualize it. If you dream it, you could actualize it. If you can't think it, it cannot be a reality. Free Palestine is a reality. Free Palestine is a reality. Free Palestine is a reality. Assalamu alaikum.